Aloha, beautiful beings, and welcome to another episode of the Yoni Havana podcast, where we explore consciousness, looking into how things work in the universe so we can enjoy life more and become more whole. In this episode, I chat with Frank Elaridi, a 4-time Emmy Award-winning journalist and celebrity healer, as well as the host of the Quite Frankly podcast, where he brings spirituality into everyday life through raw conversations with thought leaders and personal experiences on wellness, plant medicine, and emotional healing. Listen in as Frank shares the origins of his energy healing practice, and about 35 minutes in, he even does a live energy cleaning session on me. For around 15 minutes, Frank works his magic using magnets to identify and clear mental blocks and misalignments in my body. This part of the episode is slower and quieter as you'll see Frank in action. It's absolutely amazing to experience, and I encourage you to check out the video podcast for the segment. Frank also opens up about his daily meditative practices, including Kriya yoga and silent retreats, showing how these routines help him live with purpose and presence. Together, we delve into powerful insights on ancestral healing, clearing inherited blocks, and embracing a life of spiritual alignment and oneness. Before we dive into this episode, I'd like to read to you a short testimonial from our last Men of Integrity retreat, which is a profound 4-day journey towards authentic manhood, led by Michael Tierno and me, Yoni Havana. These retreats help men embrace integrity, heal past wounds, and build a supportive community. Here's the testimonial. The impact of the MOI team and this men's retreat is a pivot point in my life. With meaningful rituals, solid science, great guidance, innovative concepts, and time-tested routines, the MOI team not only set me on a path of personal healing and betterment, they brought me into a brotherhood of men ready to shift our lives from surviving to thriving. The medicine work gave me a catalyst for inner transformation, and was beautifully reinforced by the presentations, conversations, reflections, and connections interwoven throughout the retreat. I am confident now to take charge of the changes I want to create in my life, and know I have the support from and accountability to the MOI community to make them happen. I came away from this experience full of gratitude, love, self-knowledge, and hope. If the Men of Integrity retreats intrigue you, I encourage you to visit our website, moi.community. Now on to the show. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this enlightening conversation with Frank Elaridi. Frank, thank you for coming on to the show. Welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me on.
You know, I've gotten to know you for the first time exactly 2 years ago. It's September 2024 when we're recording, and the first time that I've heard of you and saw you was Modern Nirvana Summit in September 2022. And something super special about you, and I can't even really put it into words. Perhaps it's my curiosity, your curiosity about life, the way you carry yourself, your voice, the work you're doing. I've seen some of your older work on YouTube, some of it in India, I think. Fascinating. You're a fascinating person. I'm glad that we have a mutual friend that connected us. You've been on my list of people that I want to connect with, and I'm grateful you made some time today.
Wow, thank you. I'm honored to be on your list.
So, I actually want to start somewhere. I've been off social media for a few years, and I'm back on social media. Mostly, I started an account for my podcast, and then I just changed it to the work that I'm doing. Over time, I'm stepping more and more into what the divine is requesting of me, and I try to, and this might sound weird to some people, but obey God's will in that way. Just do my part on my purpose. And part of me just being on social media, I saw a video of you singing, and I think I saw you singing in the parking lot. And I'm like, "Oof, this is the voice of an angel." And I was wondering, were you a singer before? Were you developing your voice in some extent? Is this a natural gift? If somebody who, I'm from Israel, I have an accent already, right? But there's something, it's the vibration. I was just really drawn to that specific, just listening to you singing. I don't remember what the song was. It was just beautiful. And I want to leave it at that. And if you can give some background into singing.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I actually have not, and I've never been a professional singer. I was in like little groups. When I was a kid, for example, I was in a group called like Showbiz Kids, and then the Disney, I forgot what it's called now, but little things like that, but never professionally. But I
Mm.
always really just, yeah, I really love to sing. And ever since my first ayahuasca experience, I think is when I really just started to, uh, like just out of nowhere feel the desire to sing all the time. And so sometimes I'll post it and record it and record it and post it, and it's always spontaneous. So like you said, I was in the
Mhm.
parking lot for that one. Yeah, I don't know, I love to express that way. So thank you for that.
H- How often do you find yourself singing?
Oh,
Every day?
all day, because I work from home. So I'm just
Mm.
like, I'm basically meditating and cooking and working all day just from home. And yeah, so I'll just be singing out of nowhere all day.
Mm. When you say you're meditating and cooking all day, let's touch on meditating for a
Yeah.
moment. What is how do you define meditating? I know there's all kinds of concepts of meditation, and my attempt is to be meditating all the time.
Mm.
Uh, you know, Speaking, eyes open, walking, etc. So I'm curious to hear what's your definition of meditating. What are some of the ways in which you meditate?
So right now I'm like, it's not like oh, my cooking is a meditation. I'm not like one of those people. When I'm cooking, I'm fully present. But
Mhm.
when I'm meditating, I have a Kriya yoga practice that I do every morning. And so, there's different ones. The one I do is called Shambhavi Mahamudra Kriya. And I actually made a video about it recently, about like the effects of my brain before and after doing it for 30 days. And it's pretty amazing. Like pretty incredible. I had Dr. Daniel Amen scan my brain before and after, and there was like little holes and ridges that were there before, and then they're gone after doing the practice for not even 30 days. I think I ended up going for 2 weeks and then measuring the brain again. So I
Wow.
do that practice every day, Shambhavi Mahamudra Kriya, and then I have another nightly one that I do from a healer friend of mine who recorded it. It's like a custom meditation for me. So I do that one every night. So that alone with those two would be about 2 hours. And then in between, if I ever have the time, I'll just do like random silent meditation. But end of next week, I think it's next week. I'm doing 3 days of full silence, and I'll just do that at home. But obviously no laptop, no phone, but nothing, no eye contact with anybody, no doing anything. All my meals will be pre-made. So if I get hungry, I'll just go eat. But yeah, full silence, no writing, no reading, like zero communication. Zero giving the mind something to do.
Mhm. Zero inputs.
Yeah,
I understand.
yeah.
How long is the Kriya that you were doing, and then did the brain scans?
The Kriya. Um, Wait, sorry. Do you mean? eh,
How long is the duration of the Kriya that you were
Oh,
speaking about? I can recall the name. It's a
oh
long
yeah,
one.
yeah.
So
It's 40 minutes long. And then you're supposed to do it morning and night. I only do it in the morning. I did morning and night for the first like year, and then after that, I started doing it every morning.
does that include breath work? Is it some certain positions or?
Yeah, both. So it starts with the asanas, which are like in yoga, like the movement. So about 20 minutes
Mhm.
is that, and then the other 20 minutes is a combination of breath work, chanting, certain locks like bandha locks,
Mhm.
and then ending with just silence and sitting in silence. Yeah, but there's like two different kinds of breath work in it, and then a little bit of chanting and movement.
How did you choose this Kriya?
I think it chose me. It found me, like everything I do. I'm never like seeking really. I'm just whatever appears in front of me, I get curious and I try it. So I had tried
Mhm.
a few different kinds, and this one was just the one that resonated the most for me.
Mm.
Yeah.
Where did this one come from? Is this from a book? Is this from a teacher?
From a teacher.
Mm.
So with Kriya, usually you're not learning it, you're initiated into it. And so it's not like a Kundalini yoga class or something where you'll go and you can drop into a class. So this one is from Sadhguru, actually.
Mm. Mm.
If you know who Sadhguru is. So
I do.
okay, yeah. So there's some people feel one way and others another way with any kind of guru. So for me, it's not so much the teacher as much as the teaching. Yeah,
I agree. I love, I mean, I read both of his books. I don't know how many he has, but in engineering and karma,
yeah.
and I love the teachings, and I reference those teachings quite a bit.
Mm,
Even something that may seem simple and small, which I don't think is that simple and small, of getting one's diet to mostly living foods,
yeah,
which in the Western world, it's a lot of cooked foods in terms of even enzymes and the energy of them and the electricity.
yeah.
And there's a lot of talk about, and it's something I actually wanted to ask you because, you seem to be in fantastic shape. I've been going through a rib injury for 4.5 years that I mentioned in the
Mm,
past quite a bit as one of my excuses on why I'm so skinny. But one of the benefits that I got from this injury was changing my perspective on protein, which to me is proton, and eating more living foods for the electricity, and having better communication with my body and the ether in general. And so, while actually we're there, let's go on this tangent for a moment. I'm curious to hear if you eat meat, and what do you eat, um, if you have any guidelines and such at this moment in time.
yeah. So in this moment, I don't eat meat. I was vegan for 10 years, and then I started eating meat again for I think like maybe two and a half. During the pandemic, so around 2020, and I started to eat meat again, and I felt fine. Like, in fact, I really liked it. My muscles were getting bigger. I liked the effects that I was seeing. And I did that for about 2 years, maybe two and a half, and all of a sudden, I just couldn't do it anymore. So now for the last year, I've been back to being vegetarian again. Not vegan. I'll still have like ghee or cheese or goat milk every now and then, but definitely vegetarian. And yeah, for me, it's a spiritual thing. I get that. Yeah, like with meat, there is definitely a positive effect on your body. If you're a bodybuilder, if you're, whatever, then yeah. But for me, like I'm here to serve my spirit, not my ego. So I definitely notice such a huge difference when I don't eat meat. It's almost like if you're going to the Grand Canyon, which I have done, I've hiked the Grand Canyon, and when you go, you have to take like the bare minimum because you have to think about how much you're going to be walking and climbing for days. So you really think about everything, like a key, even you're like, do I really need this? Am I going to need it? And if not, you drop it. And it's the same thing as how I see meat. Like on the spiritual path, you're going up this path, you can have the extra weight and the energy and the extra karma and all that, but you don't need it. So why not just drop it? Make the path easier for yourself. That's where I stand on it. And it got to the point where I just couldn't. Like I would go to this place we have here. I know you're in Georgia, but in LA we have like Air One, and it's become a really popular, trendy grocery store. But I've been going for like 10 years because they have really good quality like produce and whatever else. And so I would go to their buffet line to get meat, because I was eating meat again only like 2 days a month for 2 years. And in those 2 days, I would try to get like the cleanest that I can find. So I went, and little by little, I just realized I couldn't order it. I just couldn't order it. I would try,
Mhm.
and I would go there with the intention of having meat, and I would end up ordering like, cauliflower or something.
Mhm.
So little
Yeah.
by little, just over the last year, I've gone back to that. But I like what you say about the living foods too, because that's probably been one of the biggest changes in my diet. Because I was consistently healthy for the last like 10 years. But in the last year and a half, when I started growing my own sprouts and eating them, that's what really, I would say, made a huge shift, like a noticeable shift in everything: energy, sleep, like, like how I look, how I work out, everything, just everything.
Oh, so you said growing your own sprouts has made a big difference.
Yeah, massive.
There was several types of sprouts, certain
Yeah,
kinds.
pea sprouts, mung bean sprouts, broccoli sprouts, alfalfa sprouts, sunflower sprouts, no, not garbanzo, lentil sprouts. I mean, yeah, there's so
Mm.
many. Yeah, and they all have different benefits. And radish sprout, which is kind of like spicy. Yeah,
Hmm.
there's different ones.
Do you eat sprouts every day?
I try, but I don't end up like growing it. Like right now, I don't have any that are that are
Mm.
done, you know. But I try to always have some growing at all times.
Do you grow them indoors?
Indoor, yeah, it's the easiest thing. Have you ever seen sprouts grow?
I'm not sure if I have.
Oh, they're
Maybe
the easiest thing.
I've done some in mason jars
Yeah, that's what
back
I'm
in the
talking about.
day.
Mason jars.
Yeah, so just like I would shake them and then
Yeah,
put them on. I have like a little, not slide, but like a little
yeah,
tilted thing for it. I bought those things. I mean, this is back in the day.
yeah.
Um,
So they still use
and
those.
this
I
was
mean, that's
based
what
on
I
some
use.
research
And
from,
yeah, it's
yeah.
incredible. It's so easy. It's so easy. And it's like if you eat, look at the health benefits of broccoli or of anything, and then the sprout has the potential. Each sprout can become a whole tree of those things. So there's so much
Mm,
potential in each sprout. There's so much life in it.
mm.
So much
I
potential.
love that. Yeah, that resonates with me,
Yeah.
and I was doing that for health reasons from Rhonda Patrick at the time, if you're familiar. For I was
No.
very much into the into the physical body.
Yeah.
She has her own podcast. She was on Tim Ferriss a bunch, and she speaks about kind of mitigating risks for Alzheimer's
Mm.
and cancers and such. And so those were, I forget the certain kind of sprouts, but actually, if I didn't wash them, I think it was washing or shaking them at a certain time, they would grow mold pretty quickly. So I would have to like have my I had like a sticky note, and I would have to do it twice a day
Oh,
for whatever
interesting.
was the process. Maybe this was old school.
Maybe
I
it's
don't
old
know, but
school because mine are not like that at all. Like it's very easy. It's just every morning and night for 7
yeah,
days or
okay.
something.
That was what it is. If I
Oh,
missed
okay.
a morning or something, they would get like they would clump together and
Oh,
start growing mold,
I've
and
never
I would have
missed
to do
it.
the
So
whole.
maybe that's why I
Oh,
haven't noticed that 'cause I never
nice.
missed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Well, you've been more
But I'm
disciplined
just
than I
home,
have.
doing nothing all day. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it doesn't seem like it, at least as they say, Instagram versus real life.
Versus
And
reality. Yeah. I know people think that I'm always doing stuff, but I'm not. I'm pretty much home all day. It's just,
mm,
I basically turn down almost every single invite, to everything.
mm.
Yeah.
I saw you were recently in Europe, which seemed to have been, at least from the pictures, right, a magical trip. And you mentioned before we jumped on that you were moving to Europe, and I'd love to hear on your experiences in Europe and why the move to Europe.
Yeah, I've always had incredible experiences in Europe. Like always, I've been fortunate enough to travel a lot in my whole life. So, um, the trip recently was to Norway, and that was just incredible on its own. I had never been to Norway before, and so I spent 5 days in Oslo alone, but also with some mutual friends that were also going to this wedding. It was the royal wedding of Princess Martha and Shaman Durek. And so when we had those 5 days alone, and then from there, we took another flight to Ålesund, and then from there to Geiranger, which is we took a ship there, and that's like a literal Viking, uh,
Hmm.
God, I mean, I don't know how to even explain it. It's like Lord of the Rings, just a really remote, beautiful part of Norway, and
Mm,
so that's what I was there for that, and then, yeah, I'm hoping next year, I think, is the plan to move to Spain. Um, if I've just fallen in love with Spain. I have so many friends there. I, of course, asked my astrologer first, and he sent me a list of all the like my ley lines and where they fall. And there's
mhm.
like two really good ones in Spain. And that's probably where I'll be living. Yeah, we'll see. I'm going in December to like look at different areas and see what resonates more, but I have an idea of where it'll be.
When you travel, or specifically in Europe, do you feel like you're activating something, a remembrance, something is happening on a spiritual level? I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, there's some of that, obviously, like there were past lives in certain places that I can remember like very vividly, or if other readers have told me the same story multiple times, that kind of thing. But no, in general, I mean, I'm here now, like if I was living in those past lives, I think we get too caught up in stories,
Mm,
and the story gets wrapped up, but it's like, what is a past life? It's all happening now. It's not really in the past or future. It's all now. They're all happening on the same time, like same timeline.
mm,
And so that's why being present, I think, is so important and so powerful, because in this moment is the potential of all those moments, all those past lives. So like, yeah, probably I've had past I know about past lives in Spain and in Italy, and I'm planning to move to Spain. It has nothing to do, I don't think, with that specific past life, even though it was a very significant one. I think it's just like right now it resonates strongly, you know.
Let's break it down for a moment. So, this is quite a concept, right? For us beings that pay attention to the third dimensional reality of time. If past, future, if it's all happening simultaneously. So is this life that people call a past or a future just happening as another reality in that quantum life, and it's just where we're paying attention to?
Mm.
How do you define it? Because people say past or future, what's the future of the earth? I'm not even sure, but for now, I'm feeling like if it's all happening simultaneously, from my understanding, it's just where we're paying attention to, and is there such a thing as time? I mean, I'm I'm a little bit confused myself.
The time is real, but only in the mind. It's a concept created by the mind. So like to describe something like you're saying, to describe like the all the past lives happening at the same time. I mean, it can't really be described because to describe it, you have to use time, but time is just a concept of the mind. So it's almost like it's a difficult thing to even get into because it's like, well, how do you describe something that you can't describe? You know, we don't have the understanding for it. The mind doesn't because it thinks in three-dimensional, like you said. So it's hard to get into that quantum thing. It's more of, for me, just a feeling. But
Mm.
if it's happening all at the same time, and I see what you're saying because I've gone down that rabbit hole before of like, is it only because I'm putting my attention on this one that I'm perceiving this one? You know, um,
Mhm.
maybe, who knows? I don't know.
Mm.
I don't know.
When
I
you say a feeling, yeah, go ahead.
I think stories are sometimes how it's most like people can understand things through a story. So for me,
Mm.
I had this thing uh, that was like, okay, you have a pattern of, this is a healer that I go to, who I've sent a lot of people to, and she's like, you have this thing that gets triggered all in every lifetime, and it's shame. And so you always have some kind of experience that you need to happen in order to trigger this shame that you think you need to experience. So she's like, she told me what the experience was, and she's like, and that's gonna, that's some. And I said, oh God, like that is, am I gonna experience that in this life? And she's like, maybe. She's like, I think you still will, but I'm gonna clear it from the life where it originated, because that life is all happening now. So once it cleared for that person, it clears for you too on this existence,
Mhm.
right? Well, a year later, whatever she said was gonna happen actually did end up happening. But the crazy thing is, this thing is supposed to be like, I know I'm being vague and cryptic, but it's because it's still too personal. But it's like this thing is supposed to be something that you don't what's the word? You don't overcome, basically. And within like 30 days I had completely overcome it. I mean, it was gone, right?
Mm.
And the whole experience was just done. And it's because she had already cleared it from a past life where I had experienced this thing, and I keep bringing it back to every life with me. But she's healing it on one level of existence. And so it clears it from all levels of existence. So all those
I want
parts of
to
me now that are experiencing it as a caveman, as a current person, as a whatever, it just cleared from all those lives.
so a question for you, considering you're a student of Sadhguru.
Mhm.
If I'm not mistaken, Sadhguru in his book Karma talks about if we go to a healer or somebody to do a clearing and they do this work for us, but we don't work through this karma ourselves, it's still going to come because we need to go through this lesson. So I'm curious, what do you think is going on here? Because at least that's what I remember. Perhaps I don't remember it correctly, but I remembered it as if he's saying, if you let somebody else work through your karma and do this karma for you, it doesn't really work this way. You may be cleared for now, but you
Yeah.
still gotta work through this on your own. So I'm curious, what do you think? If I'm what's going on here?
I love that question. I mean, I think it's a beautiful question. And I have thought about that a lot. I think he's right. I think you're right that yes, but I think it's case by case. And the reason why is because there's different levels of healings that are happening. There are some, like, for
Mm.
example, with the healer I mentioned, where she's going into that life, she's basically talking to that person that is me and explaining to them, like, hey, You don't have to go through this, whatever. She's awakening that person to this thing, this information. Um, and then I can, when I get into it, when I in this life experience that thing, I had now the self effort, the everything else to overcome it. I knew who I needed to contact. I know like people who work in secretive things who can help me with things, you know? And so I know who to
Mm.
call, and it was done. It was taken care of. That was like my self effort thanks to her going into that past life and doing it. So I think that that might be okay. I think
Mm.
what he might have been referring to, because I've thought about it with my own work that I do with energy work with people, is when you go to a healer and they're literally like curing you of this thing, or they're taking this ailment from you or whatever, unless they're like a really powerful guru who can, neutralize that karma, then yeah, you
Mm.
kind of, it's like you were meant to experience it, so you probably will have to experience it in some life. It's like, I think it might be Sadhguru or another teacher who talks about suicide as well, and they say if you end your life, you are ridding it, you're ridding yourself of it in this life, but you still have to go through that experience. Like you're gonna have to go through it eventually. So when you're born again, you'll probably create another scenario where you have to go through that experience again and eventually overcome it, you know? So yeah, there is a thin line. I think
Mm.
it depends on the kind of healing. Like that's why I don't go to any psychics. I don't go to any um like I really am careful not to tread too far.
Mm. Where are your lines if you don't go to psychics, but go to some, and you're an energy worker yourself? What are some of your
Mm.
lines? I'm curious.
I mean, it's not even a line like that the mind creates. It's just an immediate, like I know whether I'm going to work with this person or
Mm.
not. And I think there's only two people, well, from including like astrologers, there's like three people that I go to regularly, three or four,
Mm.
who are like in that field of like
Yeah.
astrology or energy work.
Mm. Do you think there's some hard no's for people that can speak as a general recommendation on what not to get into in terms of to avoid some sort of bypassing?
I mean, yeah, bypassing. I think anytime it's too trendy, like with bypassing, for example, market manifesting comes to mind a lot. Like, there's people who just immediately though, and I get it. It's so easy to do, and people are looking for, so they're searching right now, So it's probably very easy to sell a course of like how to manifest or something. But I don't know. I would stay away. I don't do anything like that, and I don't make courses like that. I get asked all the time, and I just don't do it. Because I don't know, I feel like it's like using spirituality to serve the ego. When you're teaching
Mm.
about like manifesting or how to get this or how to get that or live the life that you want, like the life of that who wants that the ego wants because it's here on vacation, but it's like this is not a vacation. Like we're here to evolve and to do the work. And I think we're
Mhm.
just way too comfortable, and that's why we go, or the sages in the past would go to caves and live in caves, because there's no distractions. There's nothing the mind can just like grab onto and be like, oh, I would rather do that. So I don't know. I think if it like just go back to the original, like the old traditional texts, like it was all there. When anybody reads my human design or my gene keys or all that, it always resonates. It's always a great reading, but it's also like all this was in my Vedic astrology chart already. Like everything was already there,
Mm.
you know? Um,
Mm.
it's all there. It's all already there. So I don't know. I think for me, I would say just go to back to what's ancient and to what resonates for you rather than just like what's trendy and easy.
Yeah. I love what you said on the framing of this is not a vacation and the ego wants to be on vacation. The ego is looking
Yeah,
for comfort all the time. I really love that. I'm gonna be taking that one and bringing it to my people. I'm gonna say my people, the people I interact with. I think it's a great
right.
framing.
Yeah.
And I think on your point with suicide and other things, I do think, and I talk to people. This is part of my work.
Mm,
I talk to people who contemplate suicide, and get into those holes and have these voices in their head sometimes as a result of going to a ketamine clinic or, you know, it just comes from all kinds of places. And a cool thing that happened with one of the people that I work with who went to do Bufo
mm,
is he came back and said, there's no point. He's like, he realized there was no point. He kind of got to the bottom of the barrel. Is like, okay, so you do that, and then you come in karmic wheel and do the same thing again. May as well already have all the tools, have some of the support, figure a few things out, just get into those layers and figure out that key. And Sadhguru talked about it as well. It's kind of like there's so many chains, and there's a key that kind of like the whole thing like kind of falls
Yeah.
apart, and there's the liberation.
Mm.
But the journey is about going like one key after another in the what I see in millions of locks, locks around my heart in forms of, I kind of feel like those chains or there's like kind of like a serpent or the fascia, however that is, in memories. And that's the things that I've seen personally
Yeah.
when I was able to travel down and start working on something that started as a quote unquote freak rib injury out of nowhere, not at the gym, just kind of
Wow.
picking up my daughter who was 12 pounds at a time, and I was moving 45 pounds every day. It was like sun, and that's how I felt. And perhaps some people don't resonate with the word God, or then I'll say source or consciousness was speaking to me and saying, "Son, you've not been listening to what I've been telling you on your purpose. So here's something that you're going to start listening, because this is going to actually make you listen better." And so, yeah, over time, I developed, I think, a stronger relationship with the guiding force
Mm.
in what I feel like I'm out to do moment by moment in this uniqueness that I'm carrying, and noticing also the uniqueness sometimes looking for comfort.
Yeah.
And I think people are looking for comfort because life is uncomfortable a lot of times, and it does a bunch of times require a certain amount of comfort to have better listening to our bodies and those whispers.
Yeah.
And so I get all of it. I think it's with no judgment. I think it's just one step at a time.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I'm curious to hear about your energy work. I've heard about it a little bit through on your podcast and some of the little ads that you put, or in between, and just in your perhaps in Instagram.
Mhm.
I'm curious when you started doing energy work. What is it? How do you describe it?
There's different levels of energy work. So a lot of times people will ask me like, "Oh, do you do Reiki?" Because I think that's just so common now, and that people know that word.
Mhm.
But no, it's nothing like that. So what I do is quite layered. But when I first started was about maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and I started because within one span of a month, and I was working at the time as a journalist, but I went to these different healers, and all three of them were from like wildly different traditions, from Mexico to the US to African. And all three of them were telling me about how they use magnets and the magnetic energy in their hand to move energy and to help people with things. So I started to learn from them, but I was like pretty adamant that I only was going to do this for friends and family. Like I didn't want publicly to be doing energy work in any way. Um, but little by little, I would just have these like miraculous things were happening. And so my friends started to send their friends and family members. And about 3 years ago, I'd say I started doing it full time. And yeah, it's been incredible, like the best thing I've ever done. But one of the methods that I do that we can do together if you want is I look for emotions and uh, mental blocks and misalignments in the body, and then we find out why, like what happened, what year it happened, and then we clear it using magnets. And everything I do is remotely, so we could do it even from where I am to where you are.
Wow,
Yeah.
fascinating. Well, I'd love to try it out.
Okay, let's do it. Do you have a certain intention of something you want to work on? And people will come with all kinds of things, whether it's physical, like a physical ailment going on in their body, to something like more existential or like lifestyle, something they want to change, whether it's mental, emotional, a relationship, certain work things.
Well, since you mentioned perhaps being able to find out when something has started,
Mm,
I've had, we can call it. I was diagnosed with scoliosis at a very young age, and there's been different messages about misalignment in my hip that started in the womb.
mm,
Now, I don't know if that's truth. I don't know if this is from a different timeline, whatever time, life, etc. And I feel it now as I'm sitting. I usually am not sitting. I'm in my office, which is not too far from here,
neat.
and I'm standing. But the weather allowed, and anyways, I wanted to be out here. So this is one of those things. I'm curious, what's there?
Yeah.
What message is there?
How old are you now?
I'm 37.
37. Okay. And this is, so we're asking specifically around scoliosis, right?
Well, I'm asking about my hip. You know, the scoliosis, I feel
Oh,
like, and it's a mild scoliosis, is perhaps a symptom of kind of growing, I think, from the hip. But I'm curious about the right hip.
the right hip. Okay.
Or,
We're right there. Okay, cool. And 37 years old. Okay, perfect. All right, let me connect with you here. So I'm here only to be truly helpful. I'm here to represent him who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do because the Spirit will direct me. I am content to be wherever he wishes, knowing he will serve with me. I will be Spirit as I let him teach with me. Set the intention to put it. Okay. So you're going to see me muscle testing to you and asking myself questions. Okay, so the first thing is in your vertebrae, actually. So it's in the spine. Sample and copy. Okay. It's in the saffron. It's in the thoracic cage, so somewhere between T7 and T12. T7. T. Okay. So in T10, specifically T10, in the vertebrae, there's something there, some kind of inflammation, and the associated imbalance is energetic. That's traumatic. Age of 10. Age of 10. 22, and one of the reasons for that is there's an entity that attached to you when you were 13 years old. Okay, so we're clearing that as we do this. Okay, did we clear that entity? Is there an associated imbalance that's causing T10 to be misaligned? Okay, is there anything else that's causing it? Okay, let's just move forward. Okay, okay, there's something in the skeletal system. It's in the vertebrae, in the teeth, in the skull. So to your mouth, in the facial bone, in the frontal bone. Okay, there's something in the parietal bone. This is like in the top part of the brain, of the skull, sorry, right here. The associated imbalance is energetic. It's true. That's it. There's defensiveness. Defensiveness is being held on there in that bone and before the age of 30. Is it? There's defensiveness at the age of 13. Was age 13 a specific, like, was there something going on that year?
yeah, I think that's not only, in the Jewish tradition, I was bar mitzvah that time, but it's also when I became an atheist officially.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, because there's that entity that attached to you, and then also there's defensiveness. Okay, so that makes sense. Did we clear this defensiveness? Okay, good. We cleared the defensiveness. Let's see if there's still something in the parietal bone. Is there still something in the... Okay, there's still something in that bone up here. It's the same mouse there. There's another misalignment. Soft tissue misalignment. In the tendons, disc. There's a misalignment in the fascia. in the connective tissue in the body. The associated amount is energetic. Okay, it's causing an imbalance in the skeletal system and the connective tissue. And the tendon. Okay, the associated amount is energetic. Wow, this is getting so deep. Sorry if this is taking a while. It's getting like, there's so many layers to this. So I might need to write it down. So we're still in the parietal bone. Parietal bone. There was defensiveness there, but there's also, yeah, this is why I should have wrote it down. Okay, it's okay. We're going to get it. Is there an associated amount that's causing the parietal bone to be misaligned? Okay. Plus traumatic, offensive, mental. Okay. It's just to an idea. So there's an allergy, but it's an allergy not to a physical thing. It's to an idea, like a resistance to an idea. Okay, so this is from age 31, and there's a resistance to the idea of being creative. Okay, can I clear this? If anything comes to mind, you can always share, but you don't have to. I'm just going to clear it. Did we clear that? Good. Is there still something that's causing it? That's true. That's it. Okay, then there's also something inherited from one of your parents. Inherited. Okay, can I clear this? It's inherited worry from your dad. It's inherited worry from your dad. So your dad felt worry at some point in his life and passed that on to you at conception. So when we clear this from you, we clear it from him too. Good. You clear the worry, damn it. It's a nice thing, energetic. Let's just do one or two more things. Plus traumatic. We don't need to know more for this one, but there's feeling unsupported at the age of 28. And the hip is like kind of representing support because it supports the body. Same with the knees. They're the biggest muscle. Okay, good. It's a wheelchair. Wheelchair. Before the age of 30. There's something at the age of 23, and there's the broadcast that you're broadcasting out, kind of like a radio tower, and it's I don't trust. And it's from age 23. I don't trust. Anything come to mind for that?
Not on the I don't trust at the moment. Not on the I don't trust at the moment, but maybe something will come in.
Okay. Yeah. I can tell you more if you want. Let's see. Okay, actually, I don't know. It's not work related. It's not relationship related. It's not family related. Those were the three questions that I asked. So I don't know if there was maybe a specific event that's not coming to mind, but it's I don't trust, and it's at age 32. It could even be more general.
It's 23 or 32. You had 23 earlier.
Oh, sorry, 23.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, was it 23? Yeah, 23.
Hmm.
Yeah. Do you want to stop there, or do
I,
you want me to keep going?
well, if you're open, I'll keep going. I mean, this is fascinating.
Okay, yeah, let's do a few more. Okay, let's see what the biggest, maybe the root cause. Sometimes things have to get cleared before we get to the root cause. I've had people even do like 3 sessions before we clear out their thing, but it's still probably, if it's something that was considered incurable before or for avoiding surgery, then, 3 sessions is worth it. Well, let's see. Can't clear the biggest possible thing, the root cause of the good, energetic, most traumatic. Okay, there's some kind of a belief that was created, but it's a hypnotic belief, like a programming. For the age of 20. Okay, so this goes back far. It's from age 7, and there was the belief, the hypnotic belief, nothing works out for me. It's from age 7. Okay, let's just do one more. It's the biggest thing is energetic. What's traumatic? Let's see. Mental. Is this inherited? It's worrying for age of 30. 30. Then there's worry at the age of 32. Worry. Okay. Yeah. All right, cool. Yeah, maybe let's end it there.
It was awesome. The one thing where my internet was reconnecting was you said I was allergy to an idea. What was that idea? I missed
Oh,
it.
yeah. It was to the idea of, God, hopefully I wrote it down. Let's see, because I usually forget it as soon as I say it.
I'm sure I have it in your local recording for later.
Oh, good. Okay. So it records both.
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, because then I would have said the age there as well. So that would be good. Oh, being creative. And I think it was age 31. Might have been 31 or something like that. Yeah.
Super interesting. It's interesting as some of these. Then first, I mean, the thoracic that you picked up on. I mean, we started with the spine, but that's where my rib has dislocated a T10.
Oh, and that was the first thing it took us to, I think.
Yeah, and I've been having like tingling, numbing.
And I said T10, I think. Is that specific?
Yeah,
That one?
yeah. It's that specific.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah.
I've had some moments where I feel like it's just going to be an instantaneous healing, and what I was envisioning and asking for is kind of like and this might be out there for some, but like a being just like grabbing my spine there and just putting it into place. I think it was this morning at like 5 a.m.
Oh, wow.
when I was doing my it was a combination of meditation and breath work, we can
Okay.
call it,
Yeah.
just my own twist on it. I do some breath work, I meditate, breath work, I meditate, back and forth. And this is the vision that came, and it came like, whether it's me as a higher self or another being, just like grabbing it and like
Mm-mm.
just the relief from there. The hip came to mind as I was sitting here, and if anything, I've been working on that place for so long, and I've seen the biggest change, and I spoke about it in a couple of episodes. I don't know actually if I released some of those yet, but the biggest change that happened to me. Should I pause for a second? I
No,
see
no,
you
go
asking
ahead,
some
go ahead. I can
questions.
tell you this after, but I just cleared something, or I'll tell you
Okay.
now. But at age
Okay.
24, you have no will to heal or be healed from age
Interesting.
24. And I asked specifically if I can clear anything around the rib because I was working around your hip, you know. But it's interesting that that's the
Mhm.
first thing that came up is the hip, the rib. Yeah. Sorry. So go
It's
ahead.
fascinating. So yeah, but to touch briefly on that is some things are like, yeah, right there, like makes a lot of sense into my conscious mind, and
Yeah.
some of these things, such as
Of course, like, why
what are
would
you
your
drinking?
conscious mind be like, well, why would I not
Yeah,
want to heal?
yeah.
You know?
But like some things, I'm like they don't resonate at all. Like there was a thing where, and I feel like I was just so I'm now it's so buried perhaps from a time,
Mm,
like nothing works for me, nothing works out for me, for example, or about creativity. It just like it seems like what in what stage of my life was I in there?
yeah.
I don't have any recollection of
Yeah.
any of those parts of self that would be in this way.
You know, what's
Unsupported,
interesting too
yes.
is like number 7, that was at age 7, I think. The nothing works out for me, the belief. So, and that one is a program. So it's almost like hypnotically, like you saw something or you read something or your parents said something or a teacher, but that belief got created. But I
Mhm,
always tell people like if it's something from age 7 or age 5, especially if it's something like terror, and then people are like, "Well, I was never terrified at age 5 unless I'm blocking it." It's like, yeah, but what would be terrifying at age 5 would not terrify you today. So you have to think of it from a
mhm,
different context. Like it could have been something as small as you walking into your house and you couldn't find your mom, you know, and she was in the bathroom or
mhm,
whatever. But to a little 4-year-old, like that's terrifying, you know?
mm,
So yeah, you always have to put them in context. That's why it's like when people work with me, especially for a while, they start to understand, like they start to get it later, you know?
yeah, it makes sense, and
Yeah.
I'm fascinated. It was so awesome to see how quickly you do the muscle testing and whatever else you're doing with the magnets and tuning in. It's you're combining what
Thank
seems,
you.
from my experience so far, a bunch of um, a bunch of tools and gifts together. It was just whew,
Yeah,
that
and
was
you know,
super awesome.
we all have these abilities. We all have like your body wants to heal and it can heal,
Mhm,
but we just need to move some of these blocks that are blocking it, you know, because you're already there. You're already like that thing.
mhm,
You're already there. You're
mhm,
just like that's what enlightenment is for the yogis when they're describing it. It's just it's already there. There's nothing you actually need to do but realize
mhm.
it. You know, that's the
Let's
hardest
touch on
thing.
that. Yeah, yeah. Let's touch on that for a second, right? So realizing enlightenment, which
Yeah.
I was shy in the beginning of this podcast, and then I voiced that this is, we can call it a goal in this lifetime. It came as an idea. I let it go because I said, what's doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it happens in this lifetime, another lifetime. And then I read the book of who is now my teacher, who wrote a manual on psychology of enlightenment, on the kindergarten of enlightenment, and how she prayed or meditated for realizing enlightenment in this lifetime for 30 years before it
Mhm.
happened.
Mm.
And I realized at that moment that this is me doing this as an act of God's will. This is for the greater good. This is so I can hold on to light and radiate this light. And it was from much less of an egotistical place, where at first it was like, oh, I want to be luminous. I want to feel the luminosity. I want to be in the experience.
Mm.
I'm like, this would be nice, sure, but I feel like this is quote unquote a goal or something, or a path towards something, some sort of a northern star, because this is my calling. My calling is to do that, and whether I reach it or not, it doesn't matter. It's just it's kind of like it gives me some sort of a path. I think by saying this intention from the purity of my heart, that this would be something that the greater good wants to do through my vehicle, my instrument of consciousness.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
so, I'm curious, as you said, like it's always there, and it's realizing it. It's so simple, yet it's so, um, perhaps finding the key to it. It's so,
Yeah.
quote unquote hard or challenging. What are your thoughts there?
It's like earlier when you described the keys, you know, and there's like all the keys and you're trying them all. Um, but there's like one key that unlocks it all, right? Like that one root cause thing. And I think that one root cause thing is the illusion that of separation, separation from God, separation from each other. that illusion is really the root cause of everything that we experience. So because when you give that up, that to a higher power, then it's just like things seem to work better. And so, for example, when you said like all the different keys, Osho, when he describes his enlightenment, and as he just laughed and laughed and laughed, and they were like, "Why did you laugh?" He said, "Because I wasted so many lifetimes just like sitting there meditating, praying, seeking, doing this, trying that, And he's like, and it was just always there. The thing I was looking for was just there, And it's like my mind felt like it needed to do all these things because the mind will trick you into getting into this, getting into that, dogmatic. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that answers the question or even what the question was, but it's like, it's like there's many, many ways, but all those ways are really just for the mind because the mind needs something to do, something to attach to.
As I'm hearing you speak about it, I think that when people describe themselves as seekers or they resonate with other seekers, like, oh, we're on a similar path, I think what they're saying, and maybe they are seeking in the beginning, but over time, and into what you said perhaps 30 minutes ago, was that it shifts from seeking to just being super present or supremely present and tuned in into what is requesting most attention at that point in
Yeah,
time, and things just appear. And it's rather than seeking, is I'm being open and surrendering and present to what is presented, and I'll do it courageously,
exactly.
with trust and surrender. And I think that's
Yeah.
perhaps where the path evolves to, and how it becomes more in more alignment, which brings to more joy, peace, satisfaction, and light.
Yeah. That resonates a
And
lot for sure. Definitely. And
yeah,
like being impartial to what shows up, not
yeah.
giving partiality to one thing over another or one circumstance over another.
Yeah, I'm curious. How do you define your dharma, your purpose in this life?
Definitely to teach, for sure, to teach, to share. Yeah. So I have I mean, I have a goal for the future, So I feel like it might be too early now, but I think I see what the Dharma is and how it'll manifest, how it'll show up. Yeah.
Hmm. Is this something you're keeping less details about at the moment because you're cooking it, or it's in brewing?
Yeah, I feel like it's just too early. And
Stage.
also like uh I don't know, let it happen in the moment and unfold as it will.
Cool.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Yeah.
You're on a fascinating path, and you're obviously have many gifts to share, and I agree with your with how you see yourself here to teach. And yeah, I'm curious to learn more from you, and I'm grateful for the teachings that you do, and just you being you. I recently shared a quote from Gandhi, and let your life be your message, and I think
Yeah.
you're one of the greatest examples of just doing that or being that. So
Thank you. I love that a lot. So
without
thank you.
yeah, without being without being in a third dimensional life, very connected to you, but it's
Mm,
I think it's kind of it's a deeper knowing of
yeah.
seeing through, and so
Thank you, brother. I
lots of
appreciate that.
gratitude.
And I love that
Is
story
there
of
some
Gandhi because he was on the train and he was he was traveling somewhere and the reporter yelled to him, "What's your message?" And he said, "My life is my message." And I love that. One of my favorite teachings is A Course in Miracles. I don't know if you've read it, but it's really incredible. And like certain things don't make sense like 6 years later. You're like, "Ah, I understand that lesson now."
I have
Yeah.
I have the book. I have not started it.
Okay.
It's thick, as you know.
So big.
Uh,
Yeah. I read it a
yeah,
couple times and it's not easy.
one of the ones that I tell people about now, which took me also years. I've heard about it. Autobiography of a
Oh
Yogi.
yeah.
It took me years to get to it, and I got to it in the beginning of 2024. And
Mm,
for now, that's my favorite text.
wow.
Perhaps things will change, but it's so easy to read. Great storytelling, and
And the
it,
audiobook is
it,
nice too.
I started the audiobook. It was with a British person, I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah.
Um, And it was, some of the language from perhaps it was written in the 40s
Yeah.
and 30s was harder for me to pick up on. So
Mm-hmm.
I picked up the paper one. But yeah, there was, I forget, I wanted to ask you one more thing, but it
Well, I'll
escapes my
just say
mind at
really
the
quickly
moment.
about the Course in Miracles. The reason I brought up is one of the teachings is, um, it basically describes like you teach not by preaching, not by telling other people it's this way, it's that way, just from your life, from how you are and how you live. Let that be the teacher, you know? And so
Mhm.
that's why I resonated with what you said with the Gandhi thing, because yeah, it's like I always try to just like let life be my teacher, or let my life, the way I live it, be that teaching, you know?
Mm.
Yeah.
Super cool. Super
Thank you.
awesome.
And actually, you know what's funny is
Yeah.
I thought about this when you were describing, so the person who introduced us, when you said that I got the thoracic cage part, uh, I did a session, I did a clearing for him when he was grieving the loss of somebody, and what came up was a sternum misalignment, and so I cleared that, and he didn't tell me until like a week later. He's like, I didn't tell you this during the session because I didn't know if that resonated or not with him, but he's like, I I pop my sternum basically every day. I've been doing it for decades. Like I crack it every day. And he said, and in the last week since our session, I have not cracked it at all, not once. And even if I try, it doesn't do it, and won't
Mm.
enter to have. So there was like something, some emotion or belief or whatever that was being held there, and we cleared that. But it was completely unrelated because we were clearing around the death of somebody. So
Mm.
somehow your subconscious makes the connection. It's like I need to clear this in order to clear that other thing.
Yeah, it makes sense. And actually, when you say that, so what happened to me with my sternum shortly after this rib injury happened, my sternum would go in and out of place,
Mhm.
which never happened to me in my life. And it would be quite excruciating sometimes, and it wouldn't go back in place for a while, and then it would pop back out,
Ooh.
and then it stopped happening. And this is perhaps a story I started telling. In October 7th of last year, I held a retreat a men's retreat with the retreats that I do in Men of Integrity, which includes some plant medicine. And on our deep dive day,
Mhm.
I had one of my most deep journeys in this, the when I really traveled into my heart and started undoing a lot of those, getting a lot of the keys by doing certain movement and breathing and just letting energy come in huge voltages and seeing memories of perhaps past lives, as people would say, of being specifically killed in different instances. And I don't know if it's just mine or other family members. And I felt like, wow, I've done like this huge, huge, huge clearing, which still I'm very happy about to this day. At that same time, I was gonna ask my parents like if they feel differently, the next day. I was in California, it was different time, did 10 hours different from Israel. And what I see after this journey is what's going on. And the time was October 7th in Israel, which still, of course, is unfolding in that area. So I'm like, I feel like I just cleaned like pages and pages of karma,
Mm.
and now we have a bunch of pages. And it was sad, but it was also comical. Of like, I felt like God is telling me, of so many messages of how great of pain of a teacher is, and how I chose to be in this experience. I can come home at any time,
Mm.
and I feel like for this specific, and I tell people things, in my opinion, are is equally important, unimportant. The grand scheme, they're not important. For this specific storyline, they're important. That's where we're living the story.
Mm.
And I was just so excited to share and see how they're doing. See if they feel different. But they were very focused on the new trauma that has been the shock and the trauma that it was written. So
Wow.
it's fascinating. All these things and the sternum. What I've seen so far from the rib, the messages were, this is a bunch of the ancestral trauma that was awakening me when I've done ayahuasca for the first time.
Mm.
I came for like, I would just want to expand my horizons. Everything's seems good, childhood, etc. And it's like you're chosen to do clearing and cleaning of the bloodline and transmuting a lot of the darkness into light. And it's been my mission ever since,
Yeah.
and I'll probably carry it out through my life. And I've seen some avenues where I can do and tools of concentration, or I can do the deeper work sometimes in a concentrated effort, whether it'll be with plant medicine or not. But it's yeah,
And if
it
you can
fascinates
include your
me. And
family in that, that'd be really cool too.
Yeah, I think it's over time. I think as you did the clearings from me, as it's clears for them,
Yeah.
it creates room for them, and in the times themselves, and the acceptance of certain modalities
Yeah.
allows people to have the courage
Yeah.
to do something in their own cultures and communities that otherwise would be frowned upon. So
Right. Yeah.
even in talking about it in a certain way. So the sternum was to me, as you spoke about it, it felt like grief too. And this is a lot of grief, loss of loved ones,
Mm.
and over a lifetime. So,
Mm.
anyways, lots of dots to connect.
Yeah.
You know, I could chat with you, of course, for decades and millennia. Lots to learn from you,
Mm.
and lots of joy in figuring out or seeing those puzzles that we've been, I guess, putting ourselves into, or God has put us into, in these mazes together in that oneness, in different mirroring perspectives. So yeah, lots of gratitude for you, for the time today and for your mission. And curious if you want to share anything else before we close.
No, I think just, I think to piggyback off what you said, ancestral healing, it's a really good and beautiful place for people to look at and to start even lovingly disconnecting from our ancestors and from their stories and from them always trying to live through us, it seems like a cold thing because like we always want to remember our grandparents and them and that and honor them. And there's like there's honoring, but there's also like a loving disconnect that needs to happen. I think that, in Hinduism, like one of the biggest things is they will cremate bodies in the Ganges River. And the big thing about the cremation is to not hold on anymore so much to their story and to them living through you and the expectations and or taking on their shame and their guilt and their whatever they felt in their life. So yeah, I feel like just a big thing for people because that seems like a big place to start, but just a general meditation of calling all your power back, and just do this intentionally. You don't need to be guided, just sitting in silence and calling your power back from all the places you left it in this life and in past lives, and just bring it all back to now in this moment. It's like when you put in the address for the GPS, it doesn't care where you were yesterday or what happened before. Where are you right now and where do you want to go from here? So that's all that matters. Where are you now and where do you want to go? And that's it.
It's a powerful message.
Thank you.
Where should we send people to find out about your energy work, everything else?
Yeah, so the energy work, if they want to get on the wait list for that, it's on my website, frankelaridi.com. Everything is there. There's the content, the podcast, the energy healing information. So all of it is on my website, frankelaridi.com. And then on Instagram, it's F, like Frank Elaridi, and that's it. So at S Elaridi.
So,
Yeah, that's it. Thank you
Frank,
again.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. And thank everybody for listening. And yeah, hope to talk to you again soon.
Me too, brother.
Appreciate
Thank
you.
you. Yep, always. Thank you.
Much love. Thank you for listening to this episode. I hope this conversation has supported your journey to wholeness. For full show notes and to explore all my projects, visit yonihavana.com. If you found the show helpful, please leave a review on your favorite podcast app. Your support helps spread awareness, healing, and awakening to others. Much love and gratitude.